Megyn, this conflict is terrible, and I've been educating myself on the nuances of the Middle East by watching a constant stream of atrocities on X for about 8 hours a day. Jesus. Well, I guess I don't have to. I'm not in politics or a journalist or anything. That is a corpse. This is the worst one I've seen on X. Actually, this is rotten.com. Sort of interchangeable at this point. I mean, this is how you get to the bottom of things. Someone on the internet says, look at these dead babies. Then you say, well, why don't you look at these dead babies? Then they come back at you and say, why don't you look at these dead babies? Mom, I gotta put you on hold. The new corpse just dropped. I'm gonna call you back. That's true.
I just figured I'd start this video off with a little bit of a joke because like it's becoming so much, yo. Like it really is becoming so much. There's a lot happening with this conflict. Of course, we report these things. We have to stay on top of what's going on, especially as Americans, especially since, you know, they're planning on sending somewhere around $10 billion to Israel. So we want to make sure we know what's going on. So this is Ryan Long. I thought this was actually a hilarious video. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. A lot been going on with conservatives infighting or whatever they call themselves these days. I don't know. But first, I want you to hear Brandon Tatum's take on this whole situation and why I truly believe that if we're going to have a platform, people, we can't just go based on how we feel. We have to do the due diligence of at least getting a little bit of information before we start talking.
But I'm sad, it's sad that this stuff is happening. But get you one of these shirts if you like it, if you want to represent Yahweh, if you like the Hebrew letters, go ahead and get it. If you don't want it, then don't get it. Like
you guys grifting off Israel, making a Yahweh shirt. It had no type of knowledge of Israelites and everything in that land. But all right, just to listen a little bit.
Ladies, I've been waiting all weekend to say what I'm about to say right now. It is mind-blowing to me. And I understand both sides, but it is mind-blowing to me that people don't understand the truth. There are people that believe the Palestinians were done wrong by, you know, the Israelis, by the Jews, and that they deserve to fight back and recover their land. But brother, I like, what planet are we living on? The Jews were there first anyway. So if you want to come up with a tactic or you want to come up with a theology to say whose land it is and who stole what from what, the Jewish people had it way before anybody else. That's like, listen, and I know this will never happen because there's repercussions for it. If we take over a certain person's land and they want to come back and get it, good luck. America's not giving it back. It's ours now. So if you were here 100 years before us or whatever the case may be, you ain't getting it back.
He just made the Palestinian argument just now with his rhetoric, like with his comparison. I'd rather somebody have more of an integrity to say, listen, I don't know everything about the conflict. I do feel more of a spiritual connection to the land of Israel. So that's why I kind of look at this from their point of view. I'd rather that, because my question is to the people who say this, what about the Jewish people who actually protest the state of Israel? This is a real thing. So this is why this isn't a conflict necessarily for influencers to straight up tell you what's right and what's wrong. There is no one side to this messy situation. You know, it's a very messy situation. The only side, I believe, though, if you live in America, that you should be taking is the American side to say, again, that we are stretched too far, but nobody cares because $10 billion, they're probably, you know, they're working on the aid package. Somewhere around $10 billion will be sent this week. He's not the channel for this, okay? You want to go to people like the Duran, this channel here. You know, it's about actually collecting your facts and paying attention to your facts. Now, to even go, so I want to fast forward because he goes into this whole thing. So this is going to actually explain what happened with the Megyn Kelly, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Candace Owens argument, and I'll tell you how I feel about it.
Let's go and put this up there on the screen. First was from Megyn Kelly. She was actually responding to something from Vivek Ramaswamy, which we'll show you. But she effectively is saying, quote, that it is unable to persuade college students that, quote, murdering babies is wrong. There's no persuading them. We don't hire those who do the killing, and we don't hire those who applaud killers while the savagery is underway. If you are open to hiring one of those lunatics, though, good to know. This actually was responded to by Candace Owens. So let's put this up there on the screen. This is an important corollary to her discourse. She says, oh, stop it. This is incredibly disingenuous, Megyn. You know that many of those students are not out there because they want babies to be murdered. College kids are stupid. I used to be radically pro-choice. I'm glad I didn't get put on a conservative blacklist for wanting babies murdered. As it turned out, I was just young and temporarily brainwashed from a public school education, coupled with mainstream Hollywood lies, and not because I legitimately wanted to see infants torn from their mother's wombs. Dr. Thomas Sowell used to be a radical socialist who ardently supported communism. Thankfully, he wasn't put on a conservative blacklist, and he was accused of being a person who wanted worldwide suffering and starvation, as socialism and communism bring. Students are young and experimenting. You're an adult woman who is advocating for their lives to be permanently pigeonholed because they have the wrong ideas, which they are likely being spoon-fed in the classroom. All of this was sparked by Vivek Ramaswamy, presidential candidate. Let's put this up there on the screen. He put out this statement, quote, "The Harvard students who co-sign the anti-Israel letter are simple fools, but it is not productive for companies to blacklist kids for being members of student groups that make dumb political statements on campus. Colleges are spaces for students to experiment with ideas, and sometimes kids join clubs that endorse boneheadedly wrong ideas. I have been as vocal as anyone in criticizing left-wing cancel culture, but it is bad no matter who practices it. It wasn't great when people were wearing Trump hats, were fired from work, and it wasn't great when college graduates couldn't get hired unless they signed oppressive DEI pledges. It's not great now if companies refuse to hire kids who are part of student groups that once adopted the wrong views on Israel. This is not a legal point, it's a cultural point. I say this as someone who vehemently disagrees with those student groups. Those calling for blacklisting students right now are responding from a place of understandable hurt, but I am confident that in the fullness of time, they will agree with me on the wisdom of avoiding these cancel culture tactics."
All right, so I'm not even gonna get, so Brandon Tatum goes on to saying that, you know, Candace is his girl. He normally rocks with her, but then he was able to talk to his mother-in-law, who said that these people would have to hire these college students, and you know, what if they're Jewish and having to hire these people? His opinion piece on Wall Street Journal saying, "Don't hire my anti-Semitic law students," okay? And I said, all I can say is I thank God for his grace. I'm not the same person I was in my 20s and even 30s. Everyone is being lumped into Hamas supporters. And many of these foolish people don't understand or know the history of what they are promoting. But how can they ever learn? And that's the point. Like, you have a bunch of dumb kids. Listen, I thought I was oppressed when I was 25, right? That's the most silliest thing ever, right? I thought that the propaganda got to me, right? And that's just the truth. So how far does this go? That's why we go back to the video, and he's absolutely right. Like, everybody else needs to chill out, man.
People only want to post the dead babies from their side, so you do need to make an effort to follow lots of different people from all over to make sure you're getting all the dead babies. It's hard. I mean, some of the dead babies I was looking at turned out to be fake, so now I make sure that I'm cross-checking across multiple sources to make sure that I'm authenticating the dead baby. Otherwise, you could run the risk of getting emotional for the wrong reason. That is an atrocity.